What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel Abroad with Jay. If you're new here, this channel is all about living abroad and trying to create a life that you no longer need a vacation from. So today I want to talk about a topic that I've been hearing about a lot lately. Over the past several months, I've had countless conversations and consultations with people who want to move abroad, but they're stuck. And you know why they're stuck? Because they're overthinking every single detail. So today I want to break down some of these common fears and these overthinking traps that keep people from making that move. So if you've been thinking of moving abroad, but you keep talking yourself out of it, this is the video for you. So let's jump into it. So let's start with number one that I hear everybody saying. I don't know if I have enough income to support myself. And every time I hear this, I ask people, what are you currently earning? And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, they're earning more money than they actually need to live comfortable abroad. But what happened is that people cannot get out of their mind to stop comparing their US expenses to what their expenses would be abroad, like rent, groceries, healthcare, and utilities. But the reality is, abroad, your dollar stretches further. And I know I'm gonna always get somebody in the comment section to say, oh, DR is expensive. Don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. Are some things more expensive than other foreign countries? Of course, but it's still cheaper to live here than to live in the United States. Here in Dominican Republic, your rent can either be half or even a third of what you're paying in the United States. Our rent was cut in half of what we were paying in the United States. So we're already saving $1,100 just off the move. And eating out is still affordable. And I'm not talking about fine dining. And even if you do fine dining, it is still less expensive to eat out here at fine dining than it is in the United States. And your utility costs will be much lower. Even your transportation cost is minimal. It depends on how much you drive. Uber here is very cheap. If you're earning $2,500 to $3,500 a month, you're living pretty well here. And this means a nice apartment, some eating out, some traveling around the island, and you can still save some money. Now, I'm not saying move here without a plan, because you absolutely need money. But don't let the fear of money paralyze you from making that decision. Just create a budget, research the average cost of living in your city of choice, and remember, you don't need to be rich to live well, you just need to live smarter. And we're an example of that. We're not rich, but we live very well. And here's another one I hear all the time. But Jay, I don't speak the language very well. How can I make it? See, the truth is, you don't have to be fluent to live here in Dominican Republic or in most foreign countries. Don't get me wrong, learning the language of any country can make your life much easier, but you can absolutely get by while you're learning. And one thing you gotta understand, most Dominicans are used to meeting foreigners. So some of them know the basic language, especially in the tourist areas in the bigger cities. Now, if you go to the Campo, maybe a little bit different. I was out at a restaurant yesterday and I walked in and I was trying to speak my broken Spanish. And then a lady came out and she was like, oh, how can I help you? And I was on the other side of town, not even thinking I was gonna find anybody that speak English. And not that I'm looking for people that speak English, because I love to muscle my way through the conversation because it helps me learn. But until then, you got Google Translate, other translation apps, and use hand gestures. Man, you'll be just fine. The key is have patience with yourself. Use what you know. Practice every day and immerse yourself. And you'll pick up the Spanish language faster than you think. But here's the secret. People don't care if you're perfect in Spanish. They care about the effort you put in to try to speak it. So waiting around to be fluent before you make that move is almost like waiting to be a perfect parent before you have kids. It just doesn't work like that. So learn as you go, because trust me, that's the fun part. So let's move to the next one, which is one I hear all the time too. But what if I can't adjust to the culture? And yes, that is a fair question, because moving abroad changes everything. Your surroundings, your daily routine, and even how people communicate. But here's what I need you guys to remember when you think this way. Adjusting takes time. You're not supposed to have it figured out on day one, or even month 1, or month 3, or month 6, sometimes 1 year. You don't supposed to have it figured out. I made a video a while ago saying it took me almost 2 years before I felt absolutely adjusted and comfortable here in the country. You're going to feel those moments of frustration. Maybe the pace of the country is slower than what you're used to. Or maybe things just don't happen on your timeline. Or maybe you miss some of the foods and the conveniences of your home country. But that is normal. That's called transition. So instead of seeing that as something scary, see it as growth. At that moment, you are expanding your perspective and you're learning how to live differently. And for me, that has been the most fun part of my experience here, is the transition. Not getting frustrated at things that would normally frustrate me, but how to change my perspective on these things and adjust the way I live to fit my current environment. And here's the beautiful part. If you keep an open mind, Dominicans will embrace you. As I told you guys, or I say all the time, Dominicans are warming, they're welcoming, and for me, they're full of life. You'll find yourself learning from them, you'll find yourself slowing down and start appreciating things that you have never noticed. And what I see a lot of times is people come here and they try to go against the grain and they try to push back. And I'm gonna tell you something, the more you go against the grain and push back on this culture, Dominicans are gonna push back even harder. This is their country. You would never win that fight, never. So if that's gonna be your attitude, you might as well either not come or pack your shit up and head back to wherever you're from. And I tell people all the time, if things doesn't work out, just go back home. You're not trapped. You didn't sign a lifetime contract to be here. You are exploring. You're giving yourself a chance to live different. So if it doesn't work out, it's still something to be proud of. And here's another one that I always get and I hear, and sometimes I cringe. But Jay, what about my friends? What about my family? What if I get lonely while I'm there? And I know for some people, missing their family, missing their friends is really, really big. For me, that's probably one of the lowest items on the list that I'm giving today. That doesn't mean I don't like my family. That doesn't mean I don't like my friends. But that one just is not as important to me because I believe that everybody has to run their own race. Everybody has their own path. And for me, to adjust my path or not make a move or not do something based on what my family or friends may think, I think I'll be losing out on the life that is meant for me. But let's get back to the point. I get it completely. I understand leaving your support system behind can be hard. But this loneliness does not have to define your experience while you are here. First of all, we live in a digital age with FaceTime, WhatsApp, social media. Your family and friends are only a video call away. You're still able to share moments, celebrate milestones, and stay connected no matter where you are in the world. And second, you will not be alone for long. Dominicans are some of the most social people that I've ever met. Now, if you're an introvert and you're a recluse, it may be harder. But if you're just semi-extroverted or willing to meet new people, trust me, you won't stay alone for long. Because Dominicans, they love community, they love conversations, and they love connection. You'll meet people at the gym, at your local cafe, at the neighborhood called Model, or even if you're just walking down the street. Guys, every time I'm out, I have the opportunity to meet so many different people just while I'm out, because that is just how friendly and sociable Dominicans are. And lastly, there's a large expat community here, especially in certain cities. So you'll meet people that have been through or going through the same thing that you're going through. And those same people sometimes more than likely will become your new family. So yes, you'll probably still miss your family and friends back at home, but you'll gain a new circle that supports this new chapter in your life. So the next one I hear a lot is, but what about the healthcare? What does the healthcare in Dominican Republic look like? And this one here makes a lot of people nervous because they are so used to the U.S. healthcare system that any healthcare system outside of the United States terrifies them. And not only that, they also know that the U.S. healthcare system can cost them an arm and a leg. But here's the truth. Here in Dominican Republic, in other countries, healthcare is really affordable. It's accessible, and surprisingly, sometimes the quality of healthcare is even better. Like here, you can walk in the clinic, see a specialist, and get treated in the same day for a fraction of the cost in the United States. A doctor visit here in Dominican Republic can cost you around $40 to $60. And a health insurance plan for at least one person can start around $75 a month. And listen, some procedures that will bankrupt you in the United States are very manageable here. And also many of the doctors, especially in the larger city, they speak English. And you know what's wild when I hear people who are concerned about the healthcare in Dominican Republic is that so many expats look and feel much healthier once they move abroad. Can I say your boy Jay? They're less stressed, they're eating healthier, and they're walking more. The slower pace of life does wonders for your mental and your physical health. So instead of fearing the healthcare system abroad, look at it as something that you can finally access and even afford. Do your research, talk to other expats, and you'll realize it's really not that big of a deal that you're making it out to be. And here's my last one, and this one stops people all the time too. They ask me, or they tell me, Jay, what if I fail? What if I can't adjust? What if it doesn't work out? What if I have to come back? Listen, that was my fear too. I had those same fears that it may not work out. What if I have to come back? For me, it was very real because I had came here and went back one time before, and I did not want to feel like a failure for the second time. So I understand this one really well. So what did I say to myself to overcome that fear? I said 2 words, so what? And then I added another word, so fucking what? Failing doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It just means you tried. You gave yourself permission to live outside your comfort zone. What's wrong with that? Failure isn't the end, it's only feedback. You learn what worked, what didn't work, and maybe you'll try it a different way, or you may try it in a different country. For me, I went back and I tried it a different way and came back to the same country. And so far, it has worked out. But even if you have to go back home, you'll go back a changed person, more wiser, more confident, and with a perspective and experience that most people will never have. But you also have to flip it. And this is the next thing I told myself after those 2 and 3 words. What if it doesn't fail? What if it's everything that I did hope for? What if I do find peace? What if I do find freedom? What if I do find a new sense of purpose? But you can't discover that unless you take the first step. So do not let fear rob you of your chance to grow. So here's my final message to you. Stop overthinking your move abroad. You don't need to have every answer. You don't need to have every detail figured out. You just need the courage to start. Every single person that I've met here in Dominican Republic had their doubts, their fears, and their what ifs, include myself. But we did it anyway, and that's the difference. So if you've been dreaming about moving to Dominican Republic or anywhere else abroad, take this as a sign. So start small, visit first, connect with other expats, learn about the culture, and most importantly, believe in yourself. You can always adjust, you can always pivot, you can always go back. But what if, just what if, this move could be the best decision that you ever made? So if this video helped you, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It definitely helps the channel. And guys, remember, I do have a weekly newsletter called Live Your Best Life newsletter. So if you're into self-development, money, living abroad, perfect newsletter for you. I'm gonna leave that in the video description below. And guys, remember, always keep your goals at the forefront of your mind. Always live in the present, because that's the only way you're gonna live your best life. And we out. Peace.
Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Something you and me, oh. Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Jumping, flexing, no, no.